Hello, everybody, and welcome.
If you should awaken, I will be there when you wake from your lovely
Welcome back. It's right after Christmas. We're getting ready for New Year, and we're getting ready for some very, very deep discussions on this matter. We're in the part of the book that's the heaven portion. Now, let me explain to you what the heaven portion is. There are more than a couple of opinions philosophically about what heaven is. Coming from a spiritualist, basically that means that my spirit is going to tell me which one is the most accurate because my spirit has been there. Heaven is not quite what you think. It's definitely not like it is in the Bible, a place where a particular group gets to go and live happily ever after. That's not what the existence of species or any type of energy is purpose will be. The purpose of any energetic substantiality, whether that be a star or a sun or a planet or a plant or a person, is to grow spiritually, not to stagnate. You didn't come here to stagnate. This was one of the purposes of me writing this book. The thing about the heavens that are described in my book, there are 5 levels. You have atmospheric heaven, number 1. Then lower, middle, upper, and then you have the ethereal realm. I'm going to show you a graph that will tell you exactly which one you are going to when you leave here. Now, this is something that is set up by a judgment that will take place after your physical body has passed away. Your spirituality, the part that is really you, is going to evaluate your last mission. And it will be based upon how you have been perceived by not you, but other people. Anyone you've come into contact with in a positive way or a negative way will be evaluated. If you have done something really bad to someone, it won't be your opinion of what you did. It will be you'll be able to feel the pain that they felt. It is a tragic situation, so it will behoove you to do people well, because actually it's the same as you doing dirt to yourself. You will feel this, and your spirit will decide at that particular point where you're going to graduate to or de-evolve to. The lowest place you'll ever be is not hell. No, there is no such hell. Hell is a human's construct designed to make people fear. There are religions that are out there that are bound to Their whole design is to make you afraid to do anything but listen to them. Be wary of religions who use fear to control your mind. Now, I was raised in the Christian tradition, so I like to address that one since that's the one I know more about. Not that I don't know, they're all about the same. They just have a different opinion of a different way of being prejudicial, a different way of being monolithic, a different way of believing that theirs is better than the other. Well, there's no such thing as better than the other when the goal of the whole thing is to elevate everyone. And it's like a coach, a football coach. Well, it doesn't do any good for the football coach to talk about his days when he was playing, when his mission now is to elevate the level of play of his young ball players. Well, that same thing goes for you as a spirit. It doesn't do you any good to be selfish and concerned about yourself without being concerned about others. Hell is a place. For us as earthly beings, hell is called earth. The reason earth is hell is because earth can be perceived a billion different kind of ways. Every individual mind has a different way of interpreting earth. It is based on quantum physics. That's something I will get into once I develop some graphs to help me illustrate that. But what that basically means is quantum physics, from a spiritual standpoint, means that your mind controls your environment. If you are the kind of person if you are a negative person, you will see the world in a negative way. If you are a generous person, you'll see the world in different ways. That's the mentalism aspect of the planet. You have that combined with all spirits that are coming back here to pay off debt. You have spirits that are here. We've learned this in past life regression therapy, that your purpose for being here is to either educate and elevate or go through something that will teach you a particular lesson. It sounds harsh, but the Creator knows what He's doing, and He is not responsible for you ending up in a horrible situation. If He basically is saying the whole time He's wanting you to elevate, He wants you to be good. But if you cannot be good, then you will be put into a non-good situation. You will be put into a situation where suffering will be, and be aware. For example, if you were a slave master, well, your spirit may, just so you can learn something, create a situation in your next life where you will become the slaves. This is what you have to be careful of. You have to be careful of becoming that which you have caused upon yourself. And that's another principle when we get into cause and effect. You cannot defeat these principles. In the chapter that we're going to today is called chapter 55. It's chapter 55, but it's called Soldiers. I called it that because it is a situation where this is the lowest level of heaven, atmospheric heaven. It's the kind of heaven, I will use again something that I know about, born again Christianity. This is where the born again Christians are going to go. They're going to go to what is called atmospheric heaven, which is a step below lower heaven. It doesn't take a whole heck of a lot to get into lower heaven. Your goal, if you want to have a good time and see a wonderful kind of thing, you want to get to middle heaven. Middle heaven is a wonderful place to be. Upper heaven is even better than that. But lower heaven is at least stable. It's It's what you could call doable. It's tolerable. Atmospheric heaven is not. I say that because of this. In the case of a born-again Christian, what you're going to find in atmospheric heaven is exactly what you have been studying and praying for. You just don't realize that the lack of diversity within that space is not what you were created for. What I'm trying to say is that atmospheric heaven is where the born again Christians are going to go. Problem with that is they're going to be in a group with born again Christians. If you're from this country, America, you have never lived in a situation where your group was the only thing that you saw. When you went to school, you saw a bit of diversity. When you watched television, you saw a bit of diversity. Diversity is how you grow. We're saying you're going to reap just what you sow. You're going to go to exactly. You're going to go to a place where the saints go marching in by the thousands, but it's going to be saints only, your group only, and you will have to exist with that group for as long as it takes for you to figure out you don't want to be there anymore, and you say, wait, whoa. I'm a little concerned. I've been here for 1,000 years, and I want to know what happened to my son and daughter who aren't here. Lately, I've been concerned about them and less concerned about myself. It's a completely selfish place. It's a place where you go, and after a while, you're going to get tired of listening to the same sermons because there's no diversity. You're going to get tired of listening to the same songs because they all have the same rhythm. Right next door to you will be another group of people that are just like you. It could be a group of particular Protestants who believe that they're the only ones. And then you're going to have the gangs, the Crips, and the Bloods, and all that. See, a Crip and a Blood is not going to like it when they're the only ones in their, as far as they can see, as far as the reality is concerned. They're gonna miss having a family other than the type of family that they chose to be in forever. The reason I call this soldiers, because soldiers, unfortunately, are going to have to tolerate this place. When I hear a lot of this, every time I hear, thank you for your service. When you see somebody from the military, thank you for your service. Well, I would rather apologize to you for your service. You're dragged into a situation and you're taught to kill. Well, you're not going to get away with that. You're going to have to end up in a space where you have to dwell with that spiritually for as long as it takes for Adolf Hitler, for instance. He would be in atmospheric heaven. But he would be stuck there until everybody he's affected has forgiven him. And those numbers are probably billions. There are people who have not been born yet that are going to read about him and be affected by that kind of thing. So if you want to have that kind of life, if you want to have that type of future, if you want to have that kind of forever, well, that's what you're going to have if you're going to be that selfish kind of person. The worse you are, this thing about narcissism is such a pervasive illness mental illness that's going around now. You narcissists are going to have to find a way to deal with that because your selfishness is going to lead you to a very selfish place. You don't want to be in atmospheric heaven where there's no diversity and you're stuck there forever. You're going to get tired of it. You're going to get bored, and it's going to end up being a nightmare. Born again Christians, let me warn you. You have to be careful of any kind of system that says you are going and everybody else is going to hell. Don't try. It's so absurd and goofy. I mean, really? I mean, for real. You are going to accept, I would never want to go to a place like that. I would never want to go to a place where they're telling me, Kurt, there's only people just like you there and everybody else is going to hell. Sounds like hell to me. The last thing I'd want to see is a bunch of me. Yeah. Could you imagine a bunch of you? Could you imagine a bunch of saints sitting in the same place doing the same thing? They do it on Sundays, and church numbers are dwindling now. I mean, could you imagine doing that every day, all day? In the last chapter, Satan's realm, where he said, I wonder how long this penalty stay. For thousands of years on knees, some pray. And even though those words were written by me, they were still divinely inspired. My whole book was divinely inspired. I said, I will write this book if you tell me what to say. I can look at my book right now and be amazed at what it's saying because I don't remember writing it. It's kind of like the book of Eli. Although it was a movie, it was about a man who traveled, and inside of his head, he had all of this recollection of every word in this book, but I'm sure that's not what happened. What really happened was you had a man who was connected to his spirit, and he was able to relax, and his spirit was able to just release the information. That's all we're doing here. Spiritualists are trying to release the information that you need to help your spirit grow. Atmospheric heaven is the lowest heaven that you can be on, simply because it insists that you're going to go with the group that you have dedicated your spirit to. Now, your spirit cannot be dedicated to a group. Your spirit is already a part of a group. You can't take man's information and man's knowledge of what a spirit is supposed to be when you are a spirit. When you are a spirit, you already know. It's this brain and this human being that's trying to get you to do something it's a learned behavior. It's a learned thing. So your brain is trying to get your spirit to do something that it has learned by people I wouldn't ordinarily trust. I've always had a very difficult time listening to ministers because I just couldn't figure out why. Why am I listening to you? Because you're telling me the same thing I already know. Now, if you were telling me something profound and different, I could appreciate that. But if you're telling me the same thing that I've known for ever since Vacation Bible School, well, I kind of feel that you haven't added anything to your diversity. You haven't added anything to your spirituality. I went to vote last November, whenever we voted, and it was in a church, and I went to the church, and on this church wall they had 100 of different people on this wall, ministers that went back for more than 100 years on this wall. And I looked up and I couldn't. It boggled my mind to think that all these minds and all of these spirits, all teaching and all being stuck on the same thing. One information passed down to the other. It's almost like, okay, which one down the line can best represent the first one? If you can say it like him, mean it like him, persuade people like him, you think it's a good thing. That's not called growth. That's called delay. That's called postpone. That's called do anything but grow. You have 100 years of church religion saying the same thing that they did back, as if we haven't learned anything. What we have learned is that The universe is vast and it is growing. We know things about the universe now that I don't even want to try to begin to explain to you right now, because I'm afraid that all I need to do is get in it a little too deep and I'm going to lose you. Right now I'm talking about something on the lowest level. This is about as simple as I can get. Now, I'd like you guys to get a look at this chapter 55, Soldiers. What it is I talk about Hermes all the time because he's the main character of the book. Hermes had this is the person that we're getting this information from. Hermes wrote over 2,000 books. You just got to get your hands on them. You got to find them. And he has written from experience of going to these different places. He actually went to all the levels of heaven except the higher one. He's admitted that he didn't make it up there, but because it was too exclusive for even someone like him. He is the one who's describing these levels of heaven. So this is a chapter where Hermes is being taken through on tour of lower heaven by the gatekeeper of lower heaven. And as we know from last chapter, who that gatekeeper is. So check this one out, and I'll see you when we get back.
Chapter 55, Soldiers.
I then asked Satan to show me another part of this heaven, and he agreed to do so. Onto what could only be described as an ancient Egyptian chariot, the two of us were rushed away as the horses raised their hooves before dashing onward. Over and through rolling hills we finally came across the smell of burning wood, like a forest with smoldering embers. I realized that this place was a battlefield like I had never seen before. Satan explained my unfamiliarity by revealing to me the time in heaven as interchangeable and that we were now in a time long after Egypt. It was a place called Gettysburg and another place called Pennsylvania. There seemed to have been some kind of conflict or battle or something. There was the smell of death and a feeling of great sadness.
Is this too a part of heaven?
Asked Hermes.
This is the part of heaven where those of mankind who were taught the art of savage war reside. They were taught to kill on command with little familiarity with their combatants.
Parts of humans spread out for miles, sat in a state of suspended animation, still moist and bleeding as if the war had just taken place. Cavalry doctors and nurses on hand to sever destroyed limbs in an attempt to save the lives of the unfortunate wounded warriors. These were lessons that were brought to Earth from a different place by a different people. Mankind learned to war and it became a part of him.
This heaven is for the ones that found it difficult to settle their spirits after war. Their memories became a part of who they were for all times, as their souls found it impossible to release the guilt of all the pain and the others like them caused.
As we moved closer towards the center, we found even more horrifying aspects of death in a place called Auschwitz. War was different here. It seemed to be a place where only one side yielded much power as the other was simply exterminated for what seemed to be little reason. Satan made possible the vision of this reality come to life right before my very eyes. I then asked why must he bring to be such a vision at this time? His reply shook me to the core as he explained that this place is here to be shown for all times.
Those who were complicit reside in this heaven.
Would this place not be considered hell?
Hermes asked.
It could be said, except for the fact that the spirits here attend and share the same activities of spiritual suffrage as all others do in their hell-like heavens, and there are many.
How could these broken spirits share the same heavens as their oppressors and the oppressors exist here without punishment?
Asked Hermes.
All sins are exaggerated if the ones that have committed the crimes give their souls unto me freely. Freely to me means away from the God Jehovah, as well as the true God himself. I simply called myself Christ, the Son of the Lord thy God, and they freely and willingly swore their souls unto me, which is all that is required to exist in atmospheric heaven. Some call this being saved by Christ. I call this extreme naivete. One could never enter upper heaven or middle heaven, or even lower heaven for that matter, using this deception as an act of salvation.
Say that these people also attend the same activities as all others in the atmospheric heavens? Asked Hermes.
Every morning and every day until their spirits have evolved to a higher level. However, most will be sent back to Earth, reincarnated into a fresh avatar, in an attempt to undo the maleficence of their past incarnation. Or they simply stay here forever.
Subscribe and push the like button.
Welcome back. Kind of a spooky place, huh? You see, so what we're trying to do here is educate people for almost on what we would consider a next level of understanding. There is going to be a lot going on in the next few years. It's going to be a very exciting and trying, 4 years. Simply because the whole world is going to change their opinion about life itself. There's all kinds of disclosures and things like that are coming out. And life is going to be different than anything you've ever been taught. Anyway, thank you guys for coming. And don't forget to like and subscribe and press the like button. And I love everybody. And New Year's is coming, and it's going to be an exciting few years, and everybody's going to need to raise their level of spirituality if you want to exist. Goodbye.
Your dream.
subscribe and push the like button.